and thank you for joining me today on Loyal World Info. Another day of the global spinning, another day of global news to digest. I offer a sane, rational voice for an insane, rational time. I will be your host, but first, let me share a little bit about me. I look forward to waking up to the international news like a child opening a Christmas present. I never know how I will act or activities I will do until after I unwrap my present. In the news case, what will I learn? What will it cause me to think about? What will I reflect back on? And what will I share with others? Stay with me and let's open presents together. Now, let's get into today's topics. And thanks for joining me. The topics of the day for 423. Remember, all these stories will be time-stamped below in the description. And you can also find me on a podcast with the links in the description below. For international, we have China versus Philippines in naval waters, mobile Convoy 19 medical stations, Convoy 19 patients in the 30s and 40s have strokes, lockdown brings a woman bliss at home, abortions on hold, Americans are too scared to work, e-learning, tech and heroes of today. We have the Philharmonic Chorus to launch online for e-learning, hotels to share virtual worlds, robots, medical devices for Convoy 19, Myanmar volunteers help Yangon, and Canines in training to sniff out viruses. In crime, we will go over angry woman spat at a KFC worker in woman's body with a backpack found 3.5 million yen. Loan sharks are sharks and food delivery, and lender strips down house. And our last segment of the day will be digital video game spending hits record high, and Joy City Mobile Games makes 1.24 million in the first quarter of the year. Bless Mobile makes 4 million in 24 days. Stay with me and let's get into the topics. In our first article of the day, Chinese naval vessels locked its radar on the Philippines ship. So let's get into this. A Chinese warship locked its radar guns on a Philippines naval vessel in an act of tantamount to a signaling an inbound missile. Manila has revealed in a protest logging amid accusations Beijing has capitalizing on the coronavirus pandemic to consolidate its claims over the South China Sea. The act of aggression is just one in a series by China in the disputed waters in recent weeks, just as Southeast Asian nations, many of them rival claimants to territory within the resource-rich waters, struggling with the pandemic. Last weekend, Beijing announced the creation of 2 new districts to administer the dispatch parcel of the sparkly islands in the South China Sea, parts of which are claimed by Malaysia, the Philippines, Vietnam, and Taiwan. That sparked outrage, and the second protest in in as many weeks from Vietnam, which earlier condemned the sinking of the fishing boat by a Chinese Coast Guard vessel near the Paracels. Foreign ministers Marshi Payan expressed concern on Thursday over a number of recent incidents and actions including reporting efforts to disrupt other countries' resources development activities, and called for all parties to avoid destabilizing activities that distracted the international efforts to respond to the pandemic. Malaysia had issued its own unusually direct statement asserting the rights over its own waters amid the standoff between Chinese survey ship Hongzhong 8 and a Malaysian survey vessel conducted exploratory drilling for the state oil company Petronas. But Malaysia's Foreign Minister Hakan Hussein also warned of a risk of miscalculations leading to a conflict after the U.S. warship, accompanied by the Australian frigate HMAS Parakaka, raised the temperature in the region this week. Okay, so I'm going to stop here and I'm going to give you a little background. First, last week, China did sink a Vietnam ship in a parcel. The very next day, the Philippines showed camaraderie with Vietnam's claims. Then China moved into Philippines waters. Then a few days later, they moved into Malaysia waters. And that's where that Horizon 8 ship came from. And then they also went into Taiwan's waters. So they're kind of going all over. Personally, I think China did the virus kind of as a distraction so it could take care of internal and external affairs for its own country. But what I did not see happening is that the Australians were going to get involved, as they have. And yes, 2 American ships did go into the waters. Unfortunately, they are not the aircraft carriers, as those were caught the convoy, and one is in Guam and one is in Japan. So that's an update to what's going on. The USS American Aphrodite assault ship and guided missile cruiser USS Bunker Hillside, close to where both the Horizon 8 and contracted Malaysian survey vessel were operating on Tuesday, accompanied by HMAS Parliament and a third U.S. vessel, the destroyer USS Barry, as a joint exercise. All right, so during this passage, the exercises of the ships honed apparently between the Australian and U.S. navals, including replenishment at sea, Avalon operations, maritime maneuvers, and communication drills. And the Australian Defense Department also, in a statement, sought to play down the role. Now, it's kind of interesting because Australia is almost all Chinese. They can kind of boycott things. But anyway, I am going to stop there. But I have a question for you. Do you feel China is bullying at a very bad time due to the pandemic? Or do you think China planned the virus first as a distraction to make its claim in the sea? Why or why not? Please leave your comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Our next article of the day comes from the Taiwanese Times. The South Taiwan City, which is the second biggest city in Taiwan, rolls out container sample collection stations for the coronavirus. I thought this was pretty unique, so let's get into it. Container removal become mobile stations sample collection in Taiwan. Taiwan is the second biggest city in Taiwan. Taipei News. The southern city of Tai'an in Taiwan has launched a mobile sample collection station for the coronavirus COVID-19 testing that is touted to be safer and more efficient. So this is what it looks like. looks like, I guess the person's on the other side of it and he has the rubber gloves. So he himself never touches you with skin, I guess. But, okay, so, and they can put those on trucks and move them around in the parking lots or whatnot. The station, repurposed from a container, can be quickly assembled and moved around to places with the testing needs, comprising 4 individual units with separate areas for medic collecting samples as well as individuals having their samples taken. The station will help reduce transmission risk. The outdoor mobile station is also fitted with UV lighting, disinfection equipment for better sterilization. The first such device was installed at a campus of the Ministry of Health and Welfare in Taiwan Hospital. Receiving a nasal swab, and that means your nose, test through the transparent Patreon, Taiwan Mayor became the first visitor on Thursday. The station has the capacity to perform 24 hours tests, with each taking about 10 minutes, including the disinfection. I wonder how accurate that is, because most people say the good ones are like 90 minutes to 2 hours for high accuracy rate. As the process involves almost no direct contact, hazmat suits are not required, thus helping cut down on the use of limited resources. This service will be expanded to more hospitals to relieve the burden of the medical system. Okay, so this is my question for you. Okay, so these are mobile and these are testing kits. So what do you think? Do you think this is a system like this is a great to stop the spread of germs and viruses? Will it work for testing? And what is your biggest fear when you go to the hospital? Why? You know, I myself never really had a fear, but like my dad, he would always fear needles and blood taking. Other people have a fear of anesthesia, where they put you under for sleeping so they can do surgery. So anyway, that was my question for you. Like, subscribe, and leave your comments below. I'd love to hear from you. On to our third article of the day. COVID-19 infected people in their 30s and 40s have sudden strokes. Now, this is kind of ongoing because yesterday I did an article about it, and a day or two before that I did one as well. I will leave a link below. But let's get into what this says, because this is giving more detail than the previous ones. Okay. In addition to damaging the lungs, the coronavirus infections can damage the protective layer of the blood vessels and damage all organs by entering the bloodstream. Yeah. So like the other article I read said that this virus can go through the blood-brain barrier, which is pretty much in the back of your neck. It's a barrier where bad germs and stuff can't really get in, have a hard time. So let's read about this. Doctors at the Shin Medical Center in New York warned that the infections can cause blood clots and sudden strokes. The majority of stroke patients are in their 30s and 40s. Recently, the number of people with this type of diagnostics has increased dramatically. Thomas Oakley, the neurosurgeon is somebody who operates on your brain, at a hospital, and his team received 5 patients with coronavirus infections and strokes last week. They were under the age of 50, some anesthetic, and some with mild symptoms. While New York may have received 5 last week, South Korea was reporting a lot of people like this. That number of strokes among young patients who came to our hospital in the last 2 weeks has increased 7-fold. Most of these patients had no underlying disease. Some had no symptoms of the coronavirus, and some were isolated at home with mild illness. Therefore, carefully monitoring for signs of stroke such as sudden numbness of the face, loss of comprehension, changes in speech, sudden severe headaches, numerous numbness in one side. Numbness means you cannot feel something. One side of your body, dizziness, and if any symptoms occur, call an ambulance. 911, 119, or whatever the emergency number is in your area. So, besides reading this, do you recall what the symptoms for a stroke are? Moving on. My question for you about this article: what do you think about the virus's effect on the young people? Why is it different than the old? The old, it says it affects their lungs, or it attacks them with their current disease plus the virus itself. And then what is the procedure for you when you call for medical help for a person on the phone? Like this said, 911, and then what information would you give? In my case, I'll give my name, my location, and the state of the emergency, and I would hope to hear who will help me. Like, hi, my name is Santa Claus. I live in New York. I broke my leg. I need an ambulance. So how about you? Please answer the questions I asked below. Like, comment, and subscribe. Okay. This next article comes from Russia, and I found it interesting because in America, abortion clinics are an essential service, but in Moscow, they say non-essential, so they pretty much close them down. So let's get their reasoning. More than 100,000 pregnant women will be unable to undergo medical abortions in Moscow because of restrictions during the virus outbreak, the Women's Rights Organization Center said. Only 3 out of the capital's 44 clinics have said they will continue to provide abortions through the National Compulsory Medical Insurance Program. The group said on its website Monday. The other 41 clinics told that the procedure is unavailable unless you're brought in through an ambulance. Between 100 and 150,000 women are at risk of unwanted pregnancies or botched abortions during lockdown measures imposed to slow the spread of the virus in Moscow, its head Anna Riva told the independent newspaper. The health department in Moscow's mayor office denied any of the 3 clinics providing abortions. That news website reported. It said that the only one facility maternity ward reported had a virus infected patients. Russia's legalized abortion in 1955 and has the second highest abortion rate in the world after China. Wow. So Moscow, which has a population of 12.5 million, currently accounts for more than half of Russia's 62,000 coronavirus cases. Okay. So this is my questions for you. First, have you tried to give yourself an abortion? Because it's said here that statistics around the world confirm that when a legal abortion is impossible, the morality increases among women who do it the wrong way, as well as among children. So do women really try to give themselves abortions? I don't know, because we didn't even have abortion, I guess, like 1960s and 70s, so what did they do before then? Furthermore, what are your thoughts about abortions? Is it a required service, yes or no? Remember, Russia says no, America says yes. How about your country? And then what about the person's responsibility? I mean, if they're intimate with somebody and they choose to or not to choose birth control, should they be responsible for their actions? Or should they step up with their purpose in life? Those are questions I have for you. Please leave your comments below. I know it's a pretty controversial topic. I would love to hear. Like, comment, or subscribe. When it comes to international newspaper for today, this was one of the most interesting articles I read, and I wanted to share with you. Stop this retro nonsense about lockdown being a return to domestic bliss for women. Alright, so as you know, many women are home and they're homeschooling or taking care of their kid or baby, family needs, and it's a lot of work. It's very stressful, very hard. But what do they say? Hard times make strong women, weak times make weak men. So let's read this article, and I got a lot to talk about. Yesterday, I cleaned the toilet. I made myself an exquisite toast lunch and wrote this article. Sure, I don't have any kids, but I do have a demanding cat. Believe you me, on top of my career, housekeeping, and culinary excellence, his needs were met. What's it like to be a woman who has it all? I hear you ask. Spectacular, opening, and humbling. In my reality, my life changed relatively little since the lockdown, and that specifically is why I'm lucky. I've worked from home for several years, and yes, of course, looking after an animal that spends 90% of his entire time either sleeping or outside is about as fair a comparison to having a child or multiple children as the Western world in the time of the convoy. It is the handmaiden's tale, which is not to say that women's lives and careers aren't being stunted, but the pandemic in which we find ourselves, while the actual virus is proving to be more deadly to men. So at least she gives the notion that men are getting the virus worse than women. It's women who are more likely to be made redundant. This girl told the Independent in March. Women, particularly those who are BAME, are disabled, who are more at risk of poverty. Women who are more likely to be self-employed. Women are most who are at increased risk for domestic violence. The strikes against us in this crisis is going on, which is what makes it all the more galling to see a resurgence in the deeply retro "can women have it all" narrative. Alright, so she's going over in this how the newspapers are saying, yes, women live in poverty, women might suffer being hip, women might have kids problems, but that's what she's saying the news says. This is what she's going to say. One Daily Mail article, which portrays the newly WFH or four-load woman proudly weighing feather dusters and cakes, frames the lockdown as a sort of spiritual as well as literal homecoming for career women. Thanks to a deadly virus, we're back where we belong, potting around in aprons and absolutely loving it. See, women can't have it all, this says, and they're happiest back home in the natural habitat, like those goats that took over the town in Wales, because everybody knows a goat is happiest when it's walking distance of a super drug. All right. So obviously, there's absolutely no shame in doing or even enjoying most or all of the housework. Stay-at-home mothers are some of the least appreciated. Okay, I agree with that. Hardest working people on earth. And anybody who disputes this is clearly never met a child. But to wrap up this en masse homecoming of women, those who don't count towards a legion of key workers, of course, in the 1950s, Housewives Felix nostalgia, unhelpful at best. I nearly did a spat take to the reader this line from the recent Pipers of the time on being a woman who has it all, when I realized the lockdown meant that the cleaner couldn't come. It was clear I was living through a dystopian nightmare, ironic or not. Some of the tone deafness of the more coronavirus media coverage of women and coronavirus is a lot to handle. And which one is it then? Has Margaret Atwood's darkest work been brought to life? Or we living in domestic dream? Could it possibly be that neither is the case? It would be nice for the same narrative to be applied to men. Multiple articles about men swapping their suits for aprons, and Margaret's world, of course, be equally considering, but at least they would be in charge, being changed from the supposedly present focus on during the global pandemic constitutes the perfect woman. Yeah, so see, this is saying, yeah, women are home, women are doing this, notice me, protect us from the DV, protect us. But you don't hear much about the men, and that's why I like this article she first called out. So what is your boyfriend, what is your husband, or what are you, the man, what are you doing during this lockdown? I really want to know how it's affecting you and what you're doing differently. The fact is that as before the convoy days, women, working or otherwise, do more housework. With the schools and nurseries, that's been exacerbated to the point of the crisis of unpaid labor. That this isn't cute, it's not pleasingly mid-century. It's for countless overworked women a living nightmare. And that's not to mention those who are self-isolating with abusive partners or single mothers who were already struggling before the entire world imploded. Yeah, but as we're going to read soon, most of the world gets plenty of free money, at least in America, with the welfare. All right. If we're going to look at the nature is healing, the types of positives to come have out of the convoy 19, it is hard to argue that more work and less money is one of them. No matter how anesthetic pleasing this may be to think, kind of people who feel nostalgic for balanced magica and corporal punishment in schools. There's a lot to talk about. Achieving your full potential during a lockdown, which is all the more unfair when other people get to define exactly what full potential is. When you're trying to prioritize staying sane and alive, it would only be polite to question, can women have it all to go on the tube and lick? All right. Now, this is what I wanted to talk about with you, okay? Is that how it mentioned about men and how society gives women gender roles and men gender roles. So what do you think of the media? The media trying to say women should be the teachers, or women should go outside and be independent. Women should or shouldn't be the housewives. Me, I grew up in the 80s and I really hated the gender roles. For example, I watched a show called Married with Children. On this show, they always, in many other shows, Everybody Loves Raymond, they always would make fun of the husband or the boyfriend. You're acting stupid, you did stupid. The only thing the guy was good for was give me money, give me money, give me money. And they made him look stupid over and over and over again. And many times they would make a joke about, oh, you're going to get lucky tonight, honey. And then, oops, sorry, I'm no longer in the mood. That was the 80s and 90s. And then even better shows like Friends, again, Ross, Joey, they kept always making fun of the three head actors. The only really male role models I can recall were Seventh Heaven. The pastor was okay in that show. He always would give like Father Knows Best advice. The pastor was his role, so he had to. And Star Trek Deep Space Nine had Cisco as a captain. He actually he had a son, and he did good parenting skills. You know, and another gender roles. If you go back to, I don't know, Rambo 2, you go to any movie, the man meets the girl hates the woman. The man saves the girl, the woman falls in love with the man saves the day. But so that was always happened. Then you get something like Captain Marvel. Oh, I can do everything. I can just one punch you. So that's kind of my question. So do family members need 100% independence, or should part of being a family means sacrificing independence for a team of group work? Because these women are saying we do everything. Well, of course they do everything. The man's working to pay the mortgage, so you have a place to raise the kids or a nice house to stay in. So anyway, leave your comments below. Is independence or teamwork? What's better for you? And what about the gender roles? Like, comment, or surprise. This is my last international article of the day. Americans are too scared to go to work. Risk losing unemployment aid, experts say. The U.S. workers who refused to return to their jobs because they were worried about catching the virus should not count on getting unemployment benefits. Statistics state the official labor law experts say. Okay, so let me give you an example here. When you work in America, you pay a little money and you get this thing called unemployment insurance, and usually it lasts 3 to 6 months. In 2008-9, when they had a financial crisis, they gave people 52 weeks of unemployment, so they can kind of stay home and do nothing. Furthermore, it made them pretty complacent. And normally, before 2008, like 90s and early 2000s, you had to get a caseworker, and you had to show you applied for 10, 20 jobs, or you were in school or something. Then they would hand you that money. But by 2008, they did away with kind of those caseworkers. They said, nah, we don't have time for that. It's a waste of money. So nobody was motivating these people to continue working or find work. They were living kind of on free money. So when Congress passed this thing for America, they basically told most employees, you can stay home and we'll pay you your wages for 4 months for free. And we'll give you also a $1,200 bonus stimulus check plus a $600 check extra. So they're making a lot of money just to do nothing. I myself am not in America, even though I am American, and they won't give me a dime. And I've been out of work for quite a while, but I'm back. I am working again. So I don't know. I like being productive though. So what about you? Do you think people should give long-term financial aid, or should they have to take steps to receive the aid? Let's keep reading this. Workers in a handful of U.S. states will face this situation this week as the state officials hope to revive economic paralysis by shutdowns related to the epidemic. Under an order by Georgia's Republican Governor Brian Kemp, the barbershop, gym, nails, salons, and tattoo parlors will be able to open on Friday, and the restaurants will open for sit-down services on Monday. Now, if you recall, yesterday, I put up a video about a barber here in Vietnam, many of them actually. They're driving around on their motorcycles to people's houses because, again, there's no safety net in Vietnam. It's you work or you die. So, all right. So, South Carolina allows retailers to open Monday, and Texas and Tennessee have said they will ease some restrictions in the coming weeks. That's kind of scary. None of these states currently meets the White House's guidelines for reopening, only following 2 weeks of deadlines in the numbers of positive tests for the disease. Public health officials say reopening local businesses without adequate testing will expose more people to the pandemic that has infected more than 800,000 Americans and killed more than 40,000 since February. About 2.2 million or 22 million have filed for unemployment benefits in the past 4 weeks, with millions more. Yeah, it's like 27 million now. So state unemployment laws generally do not allow workers to collect jobless benefits if they refuse work available to them, said Thomas Smith, an assistant finance professor at the Economist University. That could force workers of Georgia back to their jobs at the time when it's not clear whether the risk of infection is abated, he said. You're asking people to put their life on the line, he said. These people aren't. Army Rangers, those people signed up for combat. Barbers did not. Again, barbers can always just go to people's houses. And most lockdown laws say you can do within 2, 3, or 4 people, so that's not breaking the law. Going back to work is a worrisome prospect for the Georgian liberal facilities. Yi, 36, who said she fears exposures to the virus because she is expecting her first child in July. I feel embarrassed and afraid to be in Georgia right now, Yi said. Public libraries in her country remain closed for now. You know, this is America. Everybody is a victim. If you're a victim, because there's always money somewhere for you. Play the victim card. Georgia's Labor Department says it's processed more than 860,000 unemployment claims since March, with President Trump declared a national emergency because of the virus. That is equal to 17% of the total state workforce. Officials say they are now paying twice out as many claims in a single week as they did for all 2019 and have distributed more than 500 million benefits. Well, they kind of want universal basic income, right? Some critics say the state's early reopening, an attempt to push people out of their safety net systems, that is straining states' finances. I think that is one of the big drivers of this decision by KEP, is to get people off unemployment rolls and having the private sector keeping these people afloat, said Georgia employee lawyer. Okay, KEP office declined the comment on that, but pointed out a rule that allows workers to collect full unemployment benefits even if they earn up to $300 per week. That could help those who are not called back to work full-time, the official said. Georgia's workers worried about their health, they should try to work out a deal. If an employee is concerned about returning to work due to the exposure, we are encouraging employees to communicate with their employers on plans to stay safe and return to work. Some Georgian businesses are opting not to open at all at this point due to employee safety concerns. All right, moving on. It says, I have a daughter, and I don't want to get her sick. So I'm going to stop it there. But what do you think? Do you think it's okay to stay home and just collect money, or would you feel bored? Like, many people were already going crazy in their lockdown, but hey, this time they can be home. Even if they are bored, they're getting free money. So, in this case, are the Americans, are they scared, or are they just lazy? I already told you about yesterday's barber, how he's going to people's houses to make money, and he's actually making more money now because he's cheap versus if he's working in a shop. Is this a move to get unemployment? Is this a move for people to become comfortable receiving basic income, so they will get used to government money, government help, instead of being responsible for themselves? What do you think? And what would you do to be safe on your job if returning? What if your company closed? What will you do to find a new job? Those are my questions for you. Please like, comment, or subscribe below. So we're moving on to the entertainment for the day. Entertainment is things that you can do online while you're in lockdown. And so today I have two new resources to share with you. The Taipei Philharmonic courses to launch online concerts. I've never been to a Philharmonic concert, but I wouldn't mind listening to it. Okay, so here we go. In Taipei, in order to provide musical entertainment, the public amid the Wuhan crisis pandemic, the Taipei Philharmonic Chorus will hold online concerts twice a month beginning Friday, April 24th. The Taipei Philharmonic Foundation for Cultural Education, the foundation behind these online concerts, was founded by a group of musicians and entrepreneurs in 1988. The foundation will show the Taipei Philharmonic Chorus online concerts once every 2 weeks starting Friday on CNA. According to CNA. Because of the coronavirus pandemic, the TPF canceled 20 concerts from March to June. CNA reported, therefore, every 2 weeks the course will select 8 previously recorded classical shows as online performances which the fans can watch within 3 days. The Taipei International Choral Festival, also organized by the TPF, was originally set to kick off on July 24th to August 2nd. However, due to the virus outbreak concerns, the event may be postponed. CNA reported instead of the musical group is preparing to launch the TIFC-20 online retrospective expedition display on the 30-year-old course pass. All right, so that's one of the two courses that you can see, and it's going to be online. Now, my question is, have you ever been to a Philharmonic or like an orchestra or opera? Seen it live? If so, which ones? If you could go see one, which one would you see? I myself have never seen them, so I'm not too interested in it. But I have one more thing for you. Then let's move on. This one is more my cup of tea. This one is hotels share virtual worlds of baby elephants, soccer stars, and cookies to uplift the shutdown planet. So, hotels right now are really in a tough bind. They have no people visiting, and they're making no money. And so even if people do go, because some people are living in hotels or they're stranded because they can't get home because of the lockdown, there's nothing to do since all the tourist sites are closed. So, Singapore. For the first one, there are live streams of rescued elephants enjoying bath time in Thailand. Far north are shared twice daily by the Antita Luxury Hotel Group, amusing and soothing people homebound by pandemic. In Singapore, the Six Sense hotels in Dutongs and Maxwell had uploaded videos of a hand sanitizer workshop and microgreen planting. From France, the Morning Rooters, the popular Paris Saint-Germain football players, will be streamed by Accor Global Hospitality Company soon. Okay, so hotels across the shut planet are now staying visible by sharing bite-sized digital content on the good life. This is kind of a new way to advertise their hotels. Most posted on Instagram and Facebook. The inspired content is also in tune with the times, when people crave wellness and escapism. Hotel executives and analysts tell the Sunday Times that new campaigns include At Home with 6 Cents, Actor Live, Limitless, this club, so some of the clubs. Okay, so collectively, hotels worldwide are catering to a rich digital world of home spa, their therapies, pastry, master classes, cocktails, Mediterranean concert, playlist, safaris, vistas from hotel windows, and far more. Okay, so basically hotels are doing this, but I want to get into the ones that are doing. Escape anxious days. Okay, the difference. This one was the first one that they were doing, and the pastry for soccer. If you want the elephants, I'll include all these links below. So for the elephant ones, then they have the smell of space. So they have, if you want to experience the outlook here, I enjoy that one. Then we had the 6 Cent Hotel Spas, if you really wanted to enjoy the spa world. Remember, these are all VR. And then we had, if you want your spa to too. If you want to go join the Space Club. And this one was kind of cool because the Actor Live Limitless revolutions the top 3 passions of its guests: sport, food, and entertainment. For pandemic confined people, its online experience includes training routines with 2-time Olympic judo champions Teddy Riner and an e-sport contest with the Paris Gym-In for professional football above. Okay, there are also cooking classes. So see, there's a lot. You can do cooking, and again, you'll go to this one here for the cooking. If you want to see the safari, we have the safari page here. So this is my point. I will put this website in the description below, but I'm doing this so you have entertainment that you can choose from. Like, comment, or subscribe. Moving on to the technology section today. University students, teachers make robot medical devices for Convoy 19 This takes place in Vietnam, and it's the same people who made that disinfectant room cleaner. So this is 2 good inventions now that have come from Vietnam. Let's read it. Students and lecturers from several universities in the country have made and donated robots and medical devices to hospitals and quarantine areas to serve the fight against Convoy 19. A team from Ton Doc, District 7, Ho Chi Minh City, has created 2 robots that could be used for disinfection and donated them to the quarantine area at the Vietnam National University Ho Chi Minh City dormitory. The robots are dubbed CD 1.0 and DR 1.0 and have replaced the humans who used to perform the task for disinfection. The CD 1.0 sprays the chemicals while our DR 1.0 disinfects by using UV rays, ultraviolet. They are operated by remote control and have a range of 2,000 meters. They have smartphones attached, enabling users to see their surroundings and control them through video calls. They both have the maximum battery life of 6 hours and a maximum speed of 15 kilometers per hour. Since they can carry nearly 170 kilograms, they could also be used to transport medicines and other medical stuff and food besides disinfection. The team of 1 lecturer of the 4 students from the Da Nang University of Science and Technology has made a robot which could replace humans and carry food, medicine, and other essential items to isolated rooms. Oh, that's cool, but I always like the human touch. It is a speaker to It has a speaker to enable the health officials to talk with the patients. Oh, that's nice. The university students have also made automatic hand sanitizer machines and donated those to the Da Nang Hospital. Okay. Scientists from the Military Technical Academy in Hanoi have made a robot which can carry food and medicine to patients, collect rubbish, and help doctors and patients interact with each other. Due to University of Da Nang has made a ventilator and demonstrated it to the city's People Committee and Departments of Health and Science Technology. The DTU vent is non-intensive ventilator that can be used on patients without requiring an echotracheal tube. I think that's one they put down your throat. It provides oxygen to the lungs rapidly through a mask covering the nose, of the mouth of the patient, and respiratory fatigue, or actual lung inflammation caused by SARS-CoV-2. It costs less than $20 million or $850, equivalent to a fourth or fifth the price of the machine sold on the market. A team from the Naval University of Technology in Taiwan province also made a device for measuring people's temperature instantly and installed several at the university's dormitory for foreign students. Students just need to put their hand in front of the device and their body temperature is displayed. That'd be cool if they could do that like on an app. Maybe there is an app that does that. A team from Kuala University in Bingdam Province has made devices from sanitizing hands and automatically measuring the temperature. They have installed these at all the hospitals in the city. Okay, Deputy Minister of Education in Vim Puck said the ministry has approved the universities for this contribution. So, my question for you is, what do you think of these devices? Which one do you like? Which one do you think could help you in your work at the hospital or at home? And have you ever used a robot for anything? If so, what could it do? Or have you made a robot that did something? Leave your comments below. I would really love to know. My favorite part of the day, the heroes of today. And today, I have a group and I have an animal. The first is the animal. Can dogs detect Convid-19? Canines in training to sniff out viruses. Let's get into it. Can dogs detect Convid-19? A British charity believes so and has begun training canines to sniff out the coronavirus following previous screening success with various illnesses. Medical detection dogs set up in 2008 to harness dogs' sharp sense of smell to detect human diseases started working on the project late last month. In its training room, Melton Canine in central England, the dog is being intensively trained to sniff out samples of the virus and indicate where they have found it to receive a treat. When they find it, they receive a treat. The approach is based off a belief that each disease triggers a distinct odor, which canines are uniquely well placed to smell. The charity has previously worked with dogs to detect cancer, Parkinson's disease, and bacterial infections using samples taken from patients. We believe dogs can detect COVID-19 and will be able to screen hundreds of people very, very rapidly. We know who needs to be tested and isolated. All right, the founder and chief executive said, "We have evidence that dogs can detect bacteria and other diseases, So we believe that taking this project forward will make a huge difference in the ability to fight the spread of this virus. Guest is working with the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine. The university is in the Northeast England, has the same team that recently collaborated to show dogs can be trained to detect malaria. Oh, well, that's actually nice. So what do you think? Do you think that dogs can detect diseases? What has a service dog or any dog, a rescue dog, have they done anything for you, or have you seen them in work? What did they do? Please leave your comment below and we'll read a little bit more on this. James Logan, head of the Disease Control Department, said the project demonstrated dogs can smell odors from humans with extremely high accuracy. He added that there was a very high chance that they would be able to detect Convid-19 in a similar way and potentially revolutionize our response to the disease. The team is aiming to train the dogs over a 6-week period to help provide the rapid, non-invasive diagnostic tool. Canines also can detect suitable changes in skin temperature, potentially making them useful for determining if a person has a fever. If successful, the four-legged detection detectives could be deployed at airports to identify people carrying the virus, according to Lindsay. The number of coronavirus cases around the world has now soared to 1.2 million, according to the latest figures on Wednesday. The number of actual infections is believed to be higher since many countries are only testing severe cases for patients requiring hospitalization. So what do you think about that? Again, have you ever seen a dog do anything? And what do you think about dogs being used in this way? Is it good? Is it animal abuse? Is it being productive? Please leave your comments below. And I have one more article about heroes of today. Myanmar volunteers help Yangon hungry during the Convid-19 outbreak. Wow, look at these men. Okay. At Yangon, since Convid-19 hit Myanmar, many NGOs and philanthropic groups have led the response within communities. They have tried to meet the challenges of the coronavirus and fill the gaps in the authorities' response. In Yangon, the worst-hit region of the country, the NGO Clean Yangon is helping the city's vulnerable residents, including squatters, elderly, vendors, and daily wage earners, to help mitigate the impact of the COVID-19. They no longer make a living in the city. It is a standstill as most people stayed at home following the government's request for many businesses closed. The Iroquois talked with the group of the founder Koza Yaton about the challenges facing the communities and responses. So you can see they're walking around and they're handing out these bags full of things, and we'll learn in just a minute what they give. Tell us about Kling Yangdong's COVID-19 activities. Since early March, we have been raising public awareness about how to prevent the spread of the COVID-19, as it has already badly hit other countries. After Myanmar's first confirmed cases on March 23rd, we tried to support the healthcare workers and volunteers on the front lines. We provided food and multivitamins, pills to hospitals and quarantine centers. Our volunteers also help with the Yongtong Public Health Department in transporting supplies to quarantine centers and collecting data on the returners from overseas. We noticed the poor are the worst affected and launched a program to provide basic food packages to to different places every other day. That's really nice. We have distributed packages including rice, cooking oil, canned fish, salt, beans, multivitamin pills to 1,500 poor families in East Dagon, South Dagon, Hagon Theron, and Kawa Township. Most of these are squatters. What is a squatter? This article never said. Do you guys know? We also distributed food to street vendors who are making no income, those living on the streets, and multiple staff. All right. The government has encouraged people to stay home during the social distancing to prevent the spread. So how are you prepared to risk the donations without distributing food? We were prepared for the beginning. We always have the lowest possible number of volunteers, and we walk door to door distributing food. We ask people not to come out to the street to take the food. It's a bit tiring, but safety is our first priority. Volunteers wear face shields, masks, and sanitize their hands before they distribute food to protect their recipients. If you ask, aren't we afraid? We are scared of being infected, but if we stay indoors, we can't help those in need. So we need to go out. If the situation gets worse, we will try to reduce the number of volunteers in each team. Many groups of volunteers are actively supporting the convoy vines. What is your view on that? We are poorer than other countries, and so we have more challenges. Government departments are doing their best, but public concerns are also growing. Only with our collective strength can we overcome this. What are your plans for the next weeks? Clean Young will continue to run with the support of our donors. At the start, we received a lot of donations, but they have fallen recently. It could be because they support other select sectors we need. We have brought food supplies to distribute. We expect that in 3 to 6 months, there will be many more people in need, struggling to make a living, as many day wage earners are now losing their income. We will try to support them. Okay, so I'm going to stop there. Have you ever volunteered? If so, what did you volunteer for and what did you do? In addition, what do you think of this group helping in harsh times? Is it better to volunteer as a group or better to do it solo? Please leave your comments below. I would really like to know. Okay, we are moving into the crime section. So we're going to cover our 4 crime stories of the day. The first one took place at KFC in Singapore. Kentucky Fried Chicken, or as in this case, spittin' good chicken. In this case, an angry woman spat at a KFC worker in Next shopping mall, and the police are investigating. Now, I actually viewed this video a few hours ago. I probably should have recorded it, but they have taken it down since. But we'll read the article anyway, and basically what will happen, that is a woman in yellow in Chinese is arguing with the KFC worker, and she gets aggravated, and she's like, there's a full-on loogie or big spit in the girl's face. And then she walks away. Well, let's read here. Singapore, a woman who spat at the staff member at a KFC outlet could face charges of creating a public nuisance. Nuisance is public problem. The incident of Next shopping mall on Wednesday, April 22nd, was captured in a video that has since gone viral and has led the police to investigate. The woman dressed in a yellow checked top can be seen with a lowered face mask and heard spitting at the mask of the employees across the counter before storming off. Storming means kind of like angry walk away. It is not clear what sparked the altercation. A KFC spokesperson told the Straits Times that the outlet had been sanitized after the incident and that the employee is off duty and resting. Well, that's nice. Uh, at KFC, we take our safety of our staff and customers seriously, he said. And again, they took the video down. Um, Other cases of service staff being abused have been emerging amid the pandemic. Okay, so my question for you, what do you think of that? And furthermore, what is either the worst thing you have done to a customer service rep, or if you were the employee of the company, what is the worst thing that a customer has done to you? One time, I went into this nice restaurant with a girlfriend, like way back in the day, and the waiter was talking to another, and he was full on. They were talking about my girlfriend being fat, so we got insulted and left. Eventually, they gave me $200 in gift cards because I wrote a letter to the corporation. So that's my example. Please share your example with me below. Okay, now this was a good one. This one comes from Japan. Woman's body with backpack containing 3.25 million in rocks found in river. So yen is quite high. That's like 3 million. Yeah, because like usually like 80,000 yen is 80 US dollars. So you take away 2 zeros. So that's going to be like $30,000 or something. Okay. So a man who was windsurfing on the Yodo River in Satoko City, Osaka Prefecture, found the body of a woman floating in the water on Tuesday afternoon. According to the police, the man spotted the woman, who was wearing a backpack, at around 2:35 p.m., about 12 meters from the riverbank. Now, the backpack contains several envelopes filled with 3.25 million yen in cash. There also was 2 small rocks that weighed about 1 kilogram each. Police said that the woman had no visible injuries or signs of violence on her body. She was wearing a black jacket, black pants, and sneakers. Police said that an autopsy is when the doctor says, "How did you die?" will be held to determine the cause of death. So my question for you was this. Well, 2 questions. One, we know there's a lockdown. Maybe this is an excuse to tell your government we must go out so we can see strange and weird things. Because if this guy was not there, this woman could have floated to Korea. Okay, but the bigger question for you, what should happen with the money? Okay, so you found this dead person. Do you pocket the money but report it? Do the police give it to you just for being a good Samaritan? Or do the police keep it? What do you think? What should be done with that all the money found? I think in America, what happens, the police say it's evidence and then they keep it and they buy things with it. But as a good Samaritan, should you get part of that, or should you just take in that? So that's my question for you. Please leave your comments below. And what would you use like that insane amount of money on? What would you buy? Like a house, a yacht? Okay, so we're gonna move on. The third crime article of the day. Now this one's interesting. Okay, because you guys know about Grubhub, and all these apps that are delivering foods, right? So in America, we have this thing where you cannot be thrown in jail if you owe money. And you also can declare bankruptcy if you owe money. But most countries do not have that. So you can be killed or lose everything or be seriously injured. So in this case, loan sharks in Singapore using food delivery service to harass debtors, police warned. So that's why I thought this was interesting. Okay, so let's go. unlicensed money launderers have increasingly been making use of food delivery services to harness debtors, the Singapore police force said in the advisory on Wednesday, the 22nd. The unlicensed money laundering would order large quantities of food or make multiple orders on the same day and arrange for the food to be delivered to the debtor's home, often late at night, police said, adding that the food was sometimes delivered to debtors' relatives. The food deliveryman would then request payment from the debtors or the recipient of the food items. As part of the circuit breaker measures implementation to limit the spread of the virus, restaurants and eateries have been forced to halt their line-in services, with many relying on food delivery service to continue their operations. Due to the latest loan shark harassment tactic, many food and beverage operators using food delivery services have suffered losses, police said, during the investigations are ongoing. The police have zero tolerance for loan shark harassment activities, they said. Those who deliberately cause an annoyance and disruptions to public sense of safety, peace, and security will be arrested and dealt with severely according to the law. I actually believe it after seeing some of the things. So how would you feel, maybe your son or your daughter, they owe somebody big money, credit card or student loan, and somebody orders, I don't know, like a wedding banquet worth of food to your house. And then they show up and, hey, you owe us all this money. But anyway, and have you ever owed people money? How do you feel? Did you ever pay it back? Like, I don't talk about company money, but like, have you had a brother, a sister, or a friend? Did you borrow money from them? And did you pay it back? And how did it feel when somebody helped you in the time of need? Please leave your comments below. Like, comment, or subscribe. And we have one more crime article today. Okay. The lender strips down the house. Okay, this one actually takes place in Thailand. A creditor in Nong Bong Lapore stripped the lumber from a debtor's house on Thursday to recoup an overdue payment. On Samuel Sopra, 40, said her house was torn down by an 8-man crew led by a 60-year-old woman identified as Toon, a relative lumber used to build a home in Nong Song district. Mrs. Sombre said she had borrowed 50,000 baht with a 7% interest in 2014 and paid some of the debt off before running low on finances. She later managed to pay off 40,000 baht of the baht. On Wednesday, she and her husband visited another village, and upon returning home, they found their house post, only their house post left. Miss Toon and her crew had hauled off the rest. How would you feel? Miss Toon and her accomplices had since been told to report to the police. So how would you feel, or how have you felt when, you come home and either A, you were robbed, or maybe, you came home and there was a hurricane or an earthquake or fire or somebody broke into your house? How did you feel, or how would you feel if you came home and your house was gone? Please leave your comments below. Like, comment, or subscribe. And that is it for our crime for today. For our first article, digital video game spending hits a record high under virus lockdown. As you know, only essential stores are open and many people are stuck at home. And the many companies, it's been a hardship, but for the video gaming companies, they've made insane amount of money in this past month or two. So let's get into this. Spending on digital video games has hit record high of 10 billion in March as people stuck in their homes under coronavirus lockdown turned to the gaming market tracker, Super Data reported on Thursday. Money spent on major console games leapt from $1.5 billion in March from $883 million in February, while spending on games played on a higher performance personal computers climbed 56% from $567 million to the same comparison. Console and PC games tend to be popular in Europe and North America, where restrictions on gaming going out were ramped up in March due to the pandemic. Individuals are turning to games as a reliable entertainment option during the COVID-19 crisis, and they are using online multiplayer to keep in touch with others, well, except for China, because China, as of yesterday or this week, they banned online gaming talking. Overall, revenue from digital video games went up 11% year on year, according to the industry tracker. Nintendo sold 5 million copies of its family-friendly Animal Crossing New Horizons in last March, setting sales records for the most units of a digital console game sold in a single month. Wow. Now, since we're talking about Nintendo, I didn't include a separate article for this, but Nintendo also got a $1.1 billion investment from Valve, the company that owns Steam, today as well. So it'll be interesting to see later if games from Nintendo hit Steam. So the closing of the real-world stores due to the pandemic was cited as a factor in gamers purchasing more titles as digital downloads. Spending rose 15% on mobile games, a lot of them played on smartphones, reaching $5.7 billion in March, Super Data reported. Okay, so keep in mind that the $5.7 billion was in March for smartphones, but they only made $1.5 billion on PC consoles. So smartphones are making an insane amount of money. Another among the leading titles is Pokemon Go saw a revenue for mobile gaming grow 18% in March after maker Niantic modified features to make it easier to play without needing to be out and about, according to Super Data. The new generation Xbox and PlayStation consoles, along with games tailored for hardware, are expected to launch by the end of this year. Microsoft has unveiled a name and look for its new gaming console, the Xbox Series X. Meanwhile, Sony is readying a powerful PlayStation 5 for market. Consoles face a potential threat from the advent of cloud gaming, however. This is the Google Stadia. Google earlier this month made Stadia online gaming services free for like the 20 games it has to provide an escape for those hunkered down at home because of the coronavirus pandemic. Launched late last year, Stadia is crafted to let people across the quality games play games easily as they do email on an array of internet-linked devices. Keeping social distance is vital, but staying at home for long periods of time can be difficult and feeling isolated, Stadia's Vice President Phil Harrison said in an online post. Video games can be a valuable way to socialize with friends and family when you're stuck at home. Google is offering Stadia free for 2 months. Okay, so I'm going to stop there, but I have one more article I want to get into because this just blows my mind. Okay, so I did mention to you guys before that mobile gaming, as we saw, that 5.7 billion was on mobile gaming, okay? Now, and you also saw 1.5 5 million was for PC and consoles were purchased in March. You know, I think I spent like $20 on like indie games in March myself. I haven't played them yet, but I bought them because they came out. So have you bought any games or have you spent anything on a mobile app? But before you answer, this is why that mobile market is big. Now, Joy made this game called Bless Mobile, and I'll put a link later about it. In this link, the Bless Mobile made 142 billion won. So basically, they made $14.2 million last month. Okay, on mobile games. I don't know what people are buying on mobile, like swipe transactions, but what really stood out to me is there's this mobile game that's not even out around the whole world. It's out in China and Korea. Now, the thing is, they had this game that came out March 31st. The industry expects Bless Mobile monthly sales to be around 4 billion to 5 billion won, with an addictive to 4 to 5 new titles. Addition 4 to 5 titles. So 5 billion won is 5 million US dollars. This game and it's basically just swiping microtransactions. Boom, 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 boom. The IP itself, it launched in its home country on PC for $60 million. They took. It failed. They sent it off to Russia. Russia publisher RU Mail. They threw it back. They said this is trash. They launched it on Steam, and it didn't even last 1 year. They didn't fix anything. And the thing is, the player base said, "Oh my gosh, the Bless IP is trash. It is tarnished. No one will touch anything with it." But here you go. In less than 30 days, they made $5 million off of a mobile. So what makes you guys spend money on a mobile game, but makes you so hesitant to spend a lot of money like on a digital game for PC or a physical game for a console? I really want to know. Please leave your comments below about these two stories and what games you enjoy playing during lockdown. And thank you, and I will see you tomorrow. Well, that will conclude Loyal World News. Thank you for spending your time with me today. Feel free to like, subscribe, or drop a comment below. If you're on the go, listen to my podcast with the link provided in the description. I will see you tomorrow to share more world news.